where to begin with this one. Uh, it feels like we're more divided now than we've ever been. And it's definitely, with all like the divisiveness in 2020 with people, fighting back and forth about the pandemic, what to do. Obviously, politics have always been a divisive thing, but I would say ever since Donald Trump decided to run in 2015 and then actually won in 2016, it's arguably changed the landscape of politics forever, to the point where now more people in the Republican Party specifically are trying to run as almost like a new Donald Trump, whether they're running for Senate or House or whatever it is. And clearly his whole thing was being divisive. It was attacking all of his opponents ruthlessly. It was just being extremely confident and unapologetic. And that kind of sort of set a standard for not just politics, but I think public discourse in this country. I remember in 2017, a lot of us were really excited to go see Star Wars. Because, even though The Force Awakens was kind of, like a soft reboot of A New Hope, it felt very Star Wars. There was practical effects. It was a character-driven story as opposed to an effects-driven story like the prequels. Even though there's elements of the prequels that I do like, it's mostly all old EU stuff anyway. But regardless of that, as soon as The Last Jedi drops, everyone is arguing. And the funny thing is that, there's a lot of people that thought, when Donald Trump was running in 2015, oh, this is, a clown. But the amount of people that rose up, not just in support of him in his own party, but the amount of people just defending him. And, nowadays it's even more normalized, which is still, it's a very strange thing to me. Not if you're a supporter of Donald Trump or anything, but it's a strange thing to see this discourse, I guess, right? At the end of the day, the powerful want to keep us divided in order to distract us from what they're really doing, which is destroying the planet, which is creating laws that strip our rights away, and this isn't just for our country, it's happening globally, that's why Brazil saw a Donald Trump figure of their own rise up, and then there was a lot of discourse with their people, and the same thing happened in England with Boris, and there's just, these things are a reflection of how a lot of us feel. A lot of us feel like things are not okay, and maybe this is why we're fighting. At a deeper level, it has nothing to do with politics or Star Wars or the pandemic. These are all things that we could absolutely hitch how we're feeling. We could hang how we're feeling on these things. But really, what we're feeling is inside of us. And it was there before these things happened. And these things, whether it's, public, current event, whatever, personal events, they're all kind of just reflections of our own suffering, our own unhappiness. A typical thing that you would see on Twitter or on Facebook is a whole thread of people arguing over anything. And I've been guilty of that plenty of times, where I think I'm right, but am I really? Maybe morally I believe I'm justified because with all the information that I had taken in, I feel like my position is correct. But do I really know all the possible details of whatever subject I'm debating? I was debating I don't even remember what the last thing I was debating on. I think it had something to do with like hormones or something like that. And I don't major in any of that stuff. I just read an article. Like, this is the problem with news. News is specifically geared to get us talking about it. And the easiest way to get us talking about something is to create something that gets us upset or gets us energized. And that energy is always confrontational, especially since 2015 onward. So almost the past 10 years, it's felt like we've been stuck on this divided line where you're either for or against something. And no one wants to change their minds on anything. Like, entertainment's one thing. If you don't like I wasn't a big fan of the last two Jurassic World films. I grew up on Jurassic Park, and I thought Jurassic World, even though it was like mostly all CGI and the ending fight was a bit cheesy, I thought the majority of the movie was pretty entertaining and interesting, and had like a message, like it was poking fun at like sequel bait and poking fun at itself in a way. And even though like the visuals and the CGI of the latter two were better, the storytelling was just awful. It just completely tanked. And it's even in the name Jurassic World. I know I'm going on a Jurassic World tangent now, like I almost did with Star Wars, but like in the title, it implies what the overarching story of these three films were supposed to be. Jurassic World. Before it was Jurassic Park. The three films were about the park and how the park wouldn't work. So these films, just based on the title alone, were supposed to be about how dinosaurs are in the world now, and we need to learn how to live with them, or we need to know what we're gonna do. Are we supposed to exterminate them, put them in captivity somehow? But instead of focusing on that, it was left to the last film. But yeah, whatever. Anyway, like now I'm creating my own discourse, which is hilarious because the whole point to this video is to kind of get to the root of that. We could be married to these things that we're entertained by, or we could be like married to these things that are a little bit more serious, like the politics that govern the social web that we live in, the society that we live in. We could have different opinions on science, and different studies have different results, and that's also why people argue about politics too, is there's different studies that have different results, or they're contradicting studies. Like it's a lot of work because there's so much, for lack of a better term, like I wouldn't even say fake news. It's just news geared towards discourse specifically. And a lot of these, like there was just a hearing on like at least TikTok and Meta, but like social media in general. Like a lot of the algorithms, the people behind the algorithms have already come out and said it's specifically geared to make you addicted to the thing. And the most addictive thing about social media is the outrage. It's the seeing an article about a trans athlete, and now, oh my God, I got to make a post about this. And then there's going to be a bunch of people that are like, oh my God, you're wrong. And there's a bunch of people that are like, oh my God, no, you're wrong. When in reality, like, the article you're sharing might not even have all the information that's needed in order to, like, create a proper opinion based on whatever happened, That's why, like, even beyond the news, right? The 24-hour news cycle, what a disaster. Like, I know it started up in the 90s, but like still, like a 24-hour news cycle is absolutely like stupid. like because obviously the news that gets the most eyeballs are the tragedies and the negative stuff, and everyone's geared towards negativity. But that's the thing. Why does that work? Why is it so easy to grab us, almost like by the throats with this stuff? And we can't get away from it. And in a way we don't want to, because now we're addicted to it and we want to seek it out more and more and more. And then we're like putting ourselves on pedestals, and people are like patting us on the backs for our opinions as other people that are attacking us, and then we're like fighting them for it and stuff. And it's just, the whole reason why this stuff works is because there's a fundamental sadness that exists in all of us. The trauma that we've been through in early childhood, or even throughout adulthood. You know, like some of us have gone through, most of us have gone through breakups, but some of us have gone through very tragic breakups where their partner like might have passed away, or it was just a really nasty breakup where like your whole world was built around this person. And now we're getting divorced, and who's gonna get the kids, and when can I see the kids? And, you know, like, I know it's a kind of a meme, like, where, like, you know, like, a divorce court is the pipeline to, you know, like, radical, you know, whatever, radical politics, radical conspiracy theories, whatever it is for people. But, like, there's a nugget of truth to that. Because when you are in a terrible place, terrible things will actually be a comfort to you. I know that when I was taking a break from music in 2011, between the breakup of the band that I was in and the solo project that I was starting up, and I was trying to rediscover myself musically, I was just like, and I was sort of prone to this earlier, but like I was just really, in 2011, just really, really easily sucked into conspiracy theories. Is the moon real? I mean, you could see it, but, you know, like you get into these conspiracy theories and they see all these things and you're like, oh my God, what if that's true? You know, like the Hollow Earth stuff, reptilians, and then there's nuggets of truth, like back in 2011, I thought, I actually listened to and watched Alex Jones beyond just the entertainment factor, because he's crazy, right? Like, he's just such a energized character. Was this dude going to Bohemian Grove, that it was a real thing, that the Skull and Bones Society was a real thing, that a lot of the presidents that we've had were like second or third cousins, that they're all pretty much related, or they're all related to royalty from Europe and other stuff. And it's just, hearing things like that, it makes it so much easier to be open to the more fantastical. And, you know, like, maybe I'm not that different nowadays, because, you know, I'm a spiritual person, and, you know, not that I fully buy into everything, but I definitely think that there's nuggets of truth to it. Like, someone commented before on one of my posts that what I was talking about with quantum mechanics or quantum entanglement is really quantum woo. Well, what is that anyway, you know? And the thing is, like, now I'm creating another level of discourse, you know, because this is who I am. This is why we fight with people. This is who I am. This is what I believe. And if you challenge that, I view that as an attack on me. Instead, all of our ideas and all of our beliefs should be able to be challenged and questioned, not just by other people, but by ourselves. Otherwise, our own faith in our beliefs, or our own faith in our own identity, in the things that we, you know, I guess, that make up who we are, it doesn't have a strong foundation. You know, if you're so afraid of someone questioning anything you think or believe, then that means the reason why you think or believe that is not really strong. And maybe you should be questioning it. Maybe you should be thinking, second guessing if you have the right take on whatever it is. We should be open. But also, if we've done enough research, or if we've had enough personal experience with whatever our thoughts or opinions are, then we should be able to defend them. And it's almost like now I'm justifying the discourse, but it's not the same. Like, when you are confident but insecure, you view every criticism as an attack, and you're always on the offense. But when you are secure and comfortable, in addition to being confident in whatever you think or believe, you might not even have the desire to convince anyone of what you think and believe. Because at the end of the day, and maybe this is where I'm at right now personally, but at the end of the day, when I see someone who's just like in the heat of an argument, I realize that it's a pointless endeavor. Because in my opinion, I think the whole point to a debate isn't supposed to be this entertaining thing, even though I also went through a debate phase where, like in 2017, I loved watching debates for the entertainment value and not just for the educational value. But at a certain level, it's just peacocking. It's not anything, like you're not changing the other person's mind because the other person isn't open, and maybe you're not open to what they're saying either. The whole point to a debate is to try to get to the truth, or try to get to some kind of like objective common ground. Because, I mean, just look at the country we live in. Like, the United States is a melting pot. The United States is multicultural. There isn't a United States culture or American culture. The 1950s and the cookouts and everything, you could consider that American because it is, but real American culture is multicultural. It's all the different cultures that exist in this country, because that's what this country was founded on. This country was founded on immigrants that wanted to live their lives and not be told what to do. But now there are plenty of people that think it was better in the 50s, or it was better in the 80s, or it was better in whatever time, and that it needs to be done that way. But the problem with thinking things need to be done your way is you're anti-American now. You're going against what this country was founded on, which is actual freedom. The freedom to practice whatever faith you want, to live your life personally however you want. Obviously, we live in a society. Society has rules, so you follow those rules in order to be part of the society. But how you live your life personally is fine. Right now, I'm making a video. I like to make videos. Not everyone is obligated, nor am I, to do that. But it's something I like doing and I want to do, so I'm doing it. And that's freedom. The freedom to choose what you want to do. And maybe, I guess, just staying on that topic, part of that freedom is also the freedom to have this insanely incoherent discourse. But for those of us who are sick of the discourse and don't understand why we're so divided nowadays, it's not just because of Donald Trump or Star Wars or Jurassic World or any of the other things that I could mention, the pandemic and COVID and all this stuff. It's us as human beings not dealing with our shit, to put it as bluntly as possible. Most of us, if not all of us, have been through some traumatic shit, and especially as men in the society, we're not taught to deal with our emotions in a healthy way. We're supposed to ignore them and be stoic. But real stoicism isn't ignoring your emotions, it's just controlling your reaction to them. A healthy emotional adult, male, female, whatever, is someone who looks at their pain and their suffering, allows themselves to feel it so they can heal it. Release the pain that your body is storing, because the thing about the pain and suffering that we've been through is that even if it's currently not happening anymore, our body keeps a score of it. We have these bodies that have knots in our backs and achy joints. Like, obviously, as we get older, that's just a thing that happens, but also stress and trauma is a physically affecting thing. It's not just an emotional thing. So how do we process that? How we process that is by doing the exact opposite thing we want to do. Instead of distracting ourselves with social media and with entertainment like movies and TV shows, video games, none of these vices are terrible. I don't think that we should all just turn our lives into turn our bedrooms into like a meditation room and just live entirely in silence and just constantly be doing the work. For some people that works, for some people it doesn't. But I think most of us would benefit from actually addressing the things that we've been through. Journal about it. Sit in meditation. Allow yourself to feel whatever comes up. You know? We're pain-avoiding creatures, so we don't want to be in pain. So we do the exact opposite. We try to get away from it. But by trying to get away from our pain, that's why we wind up staying in it longer than we should. It's like trying to get away from the darkness. By fixating so hard on not wanting to be in the darkness and just stay in the light, which is basically in not wanting to feel pain and suffering, by focusing so much on like, I don't want to feel pain and suffering anymore, then the actual act of trying to escape that keeps us in that suffering. We need to turn around and face our demons. We need to learn how to embrace our darkness, our shadow. It's everything that Carl Jung was talking about and has written about. The subconscious mind. All these things that we push to the recesses of our mind, parts of ourselves that we just couldn't accept or don't want to accept, and it just feels like something that is just completely alien to us in a way. Or just, it's not even alien, it's just, if it's evil, or it's wrong, or it's bad. By demonizing parts of ourselves and pushing them down, that's what gives them their power. That's what gives them their power. But by allowing yourself to feel shame or guilt or whatever that feeling, because no feeling is wrong. There's such thing as wrong actions, clearly. That's why we have rules in this society, and that's why we have a moral compass. But feelings, there are no wrong feelings. And if you don't allow yourself to feel a feeling, the feeling itself will destroy you. I know this from personal experience. That's why I'm neck deep in my shadow work right now. I've been doing this for almost a year. I know it's only been a year. There's people that have been practicing shadow work for a decade and even longer. And it's not easy work. But what do you want to do? You want to be miserable your whole life and distract yourself? I mean, as I said before, when I was talking about how we live in a free society, it's a free country. If that's what you want to do, go right ahead. But for those of us who don't want to suffer anymore, for those of us who are sick of being divided, sick of fighting and arguing with people, address that hurt that's within you that keeps coming up and expressing itself by getting angry about Star Wars or something. Because even though you have 101 reasons. Maybe you even wrote them out on a list. You have 101 reasons why the new Star Wars is terrible. What is the feeling behind that existed before you watched the new Star Wars that got you upset? What is that? Address that. Address that hurt and that feeling of pain, that feeling of loss. For a lot of us who are older, maybe it's just a fear of death. Maybe it's a subconscious fear of death, and we don't want to face that, the fact that we're dying, we're getting older, things are falling apart. It could just be the trauma from childhood, as I mentioned earlier. Like, I personally was abused, and because the abuse wasn't happening anymore, I didn't want to look at it. I just wanted to cut my abuser out of my life and move on. But a lot of those behaviors that were done to me, where it was like yelling, condescending, I was continuing that with myself by being extremely hard on myself in the same way that I was when I was young with my father. And until I started sitting with all of that, and also talking in therapy, journaling, it's everything. You don't need to just sit with it. I think that's a good place to start. But like, for me, I want to try to better my life. I want to try to live the best version of myself, if I possibly can. So in order to do that, I'm in therapy, I journal, I work out every single day, because physical activity is the best way for me to express my anger and my aggression, because even though I'm a musician, I mostly use music as a way to get more of my deeper emotions that are behind the anger, which is more of like the sadness and the suffering, which is why my project's called Morning Coffee. So, yeah. Thank you for listening. This video is meant to start a conversation, hopefully address some of the reasons, at least, that I believe why we're so divided right now, not just as a country, but even in the world, and why there's all this discourse, why we keep fighting. It's all from within. That's why a lot of the Zen teachers say that real change starts from within, because it all starts with you. So, thank you for listening.